Good morning to all. I am Vinodini. Today we are going to see a second unit in a control system, that is time response. Time response. Time response of a control system means how output behaves with respect to time. The response given by the systems, which is the function of a time, to the applied excitation is called the time response of a control system. In a practical system, output of a system takes some finite time to reach its final value. This time varies from system to system and it is independent of different factors. Similarly, final value achieved by the output also depends on different factors like friction, mass or inertia of the moving element, some non-linearities presence, etc. Next, we are going to see about type of test inputs. A standard test inputs in practice many signals are available which are the function of times and can be used as reference input for the various control system. These signals are step, ramp, sawtooth type, square wave, triangle, etc. But while analyzing the system, it is highly impossible to consider each one of its as an input and study the response. Hence, some analysis point of view, those signals which are most commonly used as a reference inputs are defined as a standard test inputs. They are step input, ramp input, parabolic input, impulse input. Step input. Step input is a sudden application of an input at specified time. It is mathematically referred as R of t is equal to A and it is for time greater than 0, and if the time less than 0 then it will be 0. For a ramp input, it is a constant rate of change in input, gradual application of input. It is shown in the figure itself, it is gradually increasing and it is mathematically defined as R of t equal to at, that is for time greater than 0, and if the time is less than 0 it is also 0. The next one is parabolic input. It is input which 1 degree faster than a ramp type of input. Mathematically, this function is described as R of t equal to a divided by 2 t the whole square for t greater than or equal to 0. That is, if a time is greater than 0, then the R of t will be a divided by 2 t square. If the time is less than 0, then the R of t value is 0. Now we are going to see about impulse input. It is an input applied instantaneously of a very high amplitude as shown in the figure. It is the pulse whose magnitude is infinite while its width tends to 0. Area of the impulse is nothing but its magnitude. If its area is unity, it is called as the unity impulse. Mathematically, it is denoted as R of t equal A for t equal to 0. That is, when time is 0, then its response will be A. If time is not 0, then the R of t value will be 0. The next topic is order of the system. Now we are going to see the first order system and second order system using the unit step input. First, we want to know what is the order of system. Order of system is the highest power of S in the denominator of the closed loop transfer function. Here we are having the simple response of the closed loop transfer function having the unity feedback. It is having the closed loop transfer function of first order system is C of S divided by R of S equal 1 divided by 1 plus T of S. If the input is unit step, then R of t equal 1. The Laplace on taking Laplace for R of t, we get R of S equal 1 divided by S. The response in S domain C of S equal, we are going to bring the R of S from the denominator to the numerator of the next side, that is C of s equal R of s into 1 divided by 1 plus T of s. Now we are going to substitute the value of R of s here. So R of s equal 1 divided by s. On substituting this, the next value will be 1 divided by s, 1 divided by 1 plus ts. Here we are taking the t value from the taken out from the bracket, then the value will be 1 divided by st into 1 divided by t plus s. That is, we are going to take the t value to the numerator. After that, we get as 1 by t divided by s into s plus 1 by t. Here the graph shown as unit step input graph and the response of the unit step input graph. The response of the unit step input will be drawn from calculation. Now we are going to take a partial fraction expansion for C of s here. So we are going to split up a divided by s plus b divided by s plus 1 by t. Now we are going to obtain the value of a by multiplying the C of s by s and letting s equal to 0. And now by substituting this, we get a value as 1. And we are going to get the b value by multiplying C of s into s into 1 s plus 1 divided by t and letting the value of s as minus 1 by t. On substituting this, we get the b value as minus 1. Now we are going to substitute the a and b values in C of s. So we are getting C of s equal 1 divided by s minus of 1 divided by s plus 1 by t. The response is in time domain. So we are going to taking the inverse Laplace for C of s. Inverse Laplace of 1 by s will be 1 and inverse Laplace of 1 divided by s plus 1 by t will be e power of minus 1 by t. This is the response for the first order system using the unit step response. For step response, we get the value as a into 1 minus of e power of minus 1t. Now we are going to substitute the values for t equal 0 to infinity and we will get some constant values. Using this constant value, we mapped this graph. Now we are going to see about second order system. A second order system closed loop transfer function is shown in figure, and the standard form of second order closed loop transfer function is C of s divided by R of s equal omega n square divided by s square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square. Here omega n is the damping natural frequency and zeta is the damping ratio. Damping ratio is nothing but the ratio of actual damping to the critical damping. The response of the second order system depends upon the value of the damping ratio. Depending on the value of zeta, the system can be classified as undamped system, underdamped system, critically damped system, overdamped system. Undamped system, when zeta value is equal to 0, then it is called as the undamped system. If the zeta value is between 0 to 1, then it will be called as underdamped system. If the zeta value is equal to 1, then it is called as a critically damped system. If zeta value is greater than 1, then it will be called as overdamped system. The characteristic equation of the second order system is s square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square equal to 0. Now we are going to see the response of undamped second order system for a unit step input. The standard form of closed loop transfer function of the second order system we already seen, C of s divided by R of s equal omega n square divided by s square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square. Now we are considering this as a undamped system. So we are going to put a tau zeta value as 0. Now on substituting the zeta value as 0 in C of s divided by R of s, we get C of s divided by R of s equal omega n square divided by s square plus omega n square. square. When the input is unit step, so we are going to put the r of t equal 1 and r of s is 1 divided by s. Now we are going to substitute the value of s here as 1 by s, and we get the value as 1 divided by s omega n square divided by s square plus omega n square. By partial fraction expansion, we are going to split the value of C of s as a divided by s plus b divided by s square plus omega n square. To obtain the value of a, we are going to multiplying the C of s by s and letting the value of s equal to 0, we get the answer as 1. Now we get the value of a as 1. Now we are going to obtain the value of b by multiplying the C of s value by s square plus omega n square and letting the value of s is j omega n. Now we are going to substitute this value in b and we get the value as minus s. Now we get the value of a as 1 and b as minus s. We are going to substitute this in C of s and we get 1 divided by s minus of s divided by s square plus omega n square. We are getting this in a C of s form. So we want this in a time domain response. So we are going to taking a inverse Laplace for C of s here. We get 1 divided by s, inverse Laplace of 1 divided by s as 1 and inverse Laplace of s divided by s square omega n square as cos omega nt. This is the time response of the second order system for a undamped second order system. Here we having the unit response as 1 minus of cos omega nt and for a step response as a into 1 minus of cos omega nt. Now we are going to see about time domain specification. In a time domain specification, the times are varied as delay time, rise time, peak overshoot time, settling time. In a graph, we can find the value of TD, TR, TP and TS. TD is the delay time and TR is the rise time and TP is the peak time and TS is the settling time. The maximum overshoot will be shown in the upper as peak overshoot there. Okay, now we are going to see about delay time. It is a time required for a response to reach 50% of the final value in the first attempt. It is called the delay time. Next we are going to see about the time rise time, that is TR. It is a time required for the response to rise from 10% to 90% of the final value for a overdamped system and 0 to 100% of the final value for a underdamped system. The rise time is reciprocal of the slope of the response at the instant. The response is equal to 50% of the final value. It is mathematically given as TR equal pi minus of theta divided by omega d. Theta must be in a radian. Okay. Next, peak time. It is a time required for a response to reach its peak value. It is also defined as the time at which response undergoes the first overshoot, which is always a peak overshoot. It is mathematically defined as Tp equal pi divided by omega d. Omega d is, we know that omega n root of 1 minus of zeta square will be a omega d. So pi divided by omega n root of 1 minus of zeta square is the value for peak time. Next one is the peak overshoot. It is the largest error between reference input and output during the transient period. It is also can be defined as amount by which output overshoots its reference steady state value during the first overshoot. It is mathematically shown as e power of minus pi zeta divided by root of 1 minus of zeta square. If it is we are want this in percentage, then we have to multiply this with 100. Next one is the settling time. This is defined as the time required for the response to decrease and stay within specified percentage of its final value, and it is also called as within a tolerance band. Okay, if it is a 2%, if the tolerance band is plus or minus 2 percentage, then Ts value will be 4 divided by zeta omega n. If it is the tolerance band value is plus or minus 5 percentage, then the settling time will be 3 divided by zeta omega n. Now we are going to see some example problems for finding the value for settling time, peak overshoot, and peak time, etc. In this problem, we are having the open loop transfer function as g of s k divided by s into s plus 10, and we are having the value for damping ratio, that is zeta, as 0.5, and in this they have specified as it is an unit step input, so we know the input also. Now we are going to find out the value for closed loop transfer function, that is C of s divided by R of s equal g of s divided by 1 plus g of s into h of s. H of s is a feedback. In this problem they have mentioned as unity feedback, so h of s value will be 1. After this we are going to substitute the value for g of s in this formula. On substituting this value of g of s equal to k divided by s into s plus 10, we get the c of s divided by r of s value as k divided by s square plus 10s plus k. Now we are going to comparing this value with the standard transfer function of a second order system, that is omega n square divided by s square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square. Now on comparing, we get omega n square equal to k and 2 zeta omega n as 10. Now from this we find out the value of omega n as 10. After this we are going to substituting the omega n in the value of k. We are finding the value of k as 100. Now we are going to find out the value for settling time. For 5% tolerance, T of s is equal to 4 divided by zeta omega n. We find out the value for zeta and omega n, so we are going to directly substitute these values here and find out the settling value for 5% error as 0.8 and for 2% error as 0.6. For peak overshoot, we know the formula as mp is equal to e power of minus pi zeta divided by root of 1 minus of zeta square. We know the value of zeta as 0.5, so we are going to substituting here and we get the peak overshoot as 0.163. and if we want this in a percentage, then we are going to multiply this into 100, so we get a 16.3% as a percentage peak overshoot here. For peak time, we know the formula as pi divided by omega n root of 1 minus of zeta square. We know the value of omega n and also the value for zeta, so we are going to substitute here and we are going to find out the peak value as 0.363 seconds. The next topic is the error coefficient. Error is defined as the deviation between the process response C of s and the reference signal R of s. In this diagram, we are having the R of s, that is input reference signal, and C of s is the output, and E of s is the error signal, and H of s and B of s both called as the feedback signal. Using this, we are going to find out the steady state error. First we are going to find out the error signal as E is equal to R of s divided by 1 plus G of s H of s for the non-unity feedback, and for a unity feedback we know that H of s value will be 1, so E of s is equal to R of s divided by 1 plus G of s. This E of s is the error in Laplace domain and its expression in S. We want to calculate the error value. In time domain, corresponding error value will be E of t. Now steady state of the system is that state which remains as t tends to infinity, that is ES is equal to t tends to infinity E of t. Now we can relate this in Laplace domain by using a final value theorem, which states limits tends to infinity, f of t equal to limits s tends to 0, s into f of s. Therefore, ES is equal to limits t tends to infinity, E of t equal limits s tends to infinity, s into E of s. Substituting E of s from the expression, we get ES is equal limits tends to s tends to 0, s into R of s divided by 1 plus g of s h of s. Now we are going to see about the generalized error series. It is also called a dynamic error coefficient, that is E of s equal g rs divided by 1 plus gs hs. Here these are the error constants, that is positional error, velocity error and acceleration error. Kp is the position error, that is limits s tends to 0, g of s h of s, and kv is the velocity error, limits tends to s tends to 0, s into g of s h of s, and the acceleration error as ka, limits s tends to 0, s square g of s h of s. The relationship between position error, velocity error, acceleration error and also a steady state error based on the type of the system is tabulated here. For a type of the system, for a 0 type of the system, the Kp value will be K and Kv and Ks value will be 0. For a step input, that is now we are going to calculate for the steady state error. So for a step input, the value will be a divided by 1 plus k. For a ramp input and parabolic input, it will be infinity. For a type 1 system, the Kp value will be infinity, Kv value will be k and Ka value will be 0. For a steady state error, step input will be 0, ramp input will be a divided by k and parabolic input will be infinity. For a type 2 system, Kp value will be infinity, Kv value also will be infinity and Ka value will be k. For a step input and ramp input, the steady state error will be 0 and a parabolic input, the value will be a divided by k. Now we are going to use these tabulation in a problem. Here, now we are going to see the example here, having the unity feedback system as g of s here as 40 into s plus 2 divided by s into s plus 1 s plus 4. Now we are going to find out the type of the system, all error coefficient and error for ramp input with the magnitude 4. So for finding the type of the system, we have to find out the closed loop transfer function for this. So g of s h of s we are going to find out here. G of s into h of s value will be like this. Now we want the value as 1 plus of s values. So we are going to take the constant value from the bracket. First we are going to take the constant value 2 from the bracket and we get 40 into 2, 1 plus of 0.5 s. In a denominator we are going to take the value of 4 from the bracket and we get the value as s into 1 plus s into 4, 1 plus 0.2 s, 25 s. On simplifying this, we get 20 into 1 plus of 0.5 s divided by s into 1 plus of s, 1 plus of 0.25 s. We know the denominator s value will determine the type of the system. So the s power value will determine the type of the system. Here s power of 1 will be there. So this is the type 1 system. So using this we can find out the type 1 system. This tabulation we can find out the type 1 system. For a type 1 system we have to find out the value for kV. Then we have to find out the error value as steady state error value as a divided by k. First we have to find out the error coefficients Kp, Kv and Ka. For Kp, Kv and Ka, we will get only the value for Kv because for first value, if we substitute s is equal to 0, the denominator value will be goes to 0, so the kp value will become infinity. Next, if we substitute this value for kv, we will get the answer as 20, and for ka, if we substitute the values, then we will get the answer as 0. Now steady state error, as I told before, we see in the tabular column, we are for a for a type 1 system, we are having the steady state error as a divided by kv. In the question itself, the magnitude of the ramp input is given as 4, so we know that the value of a will be 4, and now we have find out the value of kv is equal to 20, so we are going to put that both value in the formula. We get the final steady state error as 0.2. The next topic is the root locus. Root locus technique is a powerful tool for adjusting the location of closed loop poles to achieve a desired system performance by varying one or more system parameters. Now we are going to see the rules for constructing the root locus here. Rule number 1. The root locus is always symmetrical about the real axis. The root of the characteristics equation are either real or complex conjugate or combination of both. Therefore, their locus must be symmetrical about the real axis of the S-plane. Rule number 2. Open loop transfer function of the system, that is P is the number of poles and Z is the number of zeros. And rule number 3, we have to find out the value of root locus area in this rule. Rule number 4, we have to find out the angle of asymptotes, and rule number 5 will be we have to find out the centroid value. These are the formulas for finding out the angle of asymptotes and the value to find the value of centroid. Now we are going to see an example problem to find out the root locus. Now we are going to see an example problem to sketch the root locus. In this problem, we are having the open loop transfer function as g of s equal k into s plus 9 divided by s into s power s square plus 4s plus 11. To sketch the root locus, there are 8 steps to be followed. Step number 1, we have to find out the value of poles and zeros, that is to locate the values of poles and zeros. Next, step number 2, we have to find out the root locus on the real axis. Step number 3, we have to find out the angle of asymptotes and centroid. Step number 4, we have to find out the breakaway and break-in points. Step number 5, we have to find out the angle of departure and angle of arrival. And step number 6, we have to find out the point of intersection of root locus with imaginary axis. And step number 7, we have to find out the test point and root locus. And step number 8, if we have to find, in the question we have to find out the value of k, then we have to find out the value in the 8th step. Okay, now we are going to the problem. First we have to find out the poles and zeros. For that, in a numerator, the s values are called as zeros, and in a denominator, the s values are called as poles. Here, there is only one s values in the numerator, and it is called as 0, z1 as s plus 9 equal to 0, then the value of s will be minus 9. So, the value of 0 will be z1 equal to minus 9. For the value of poles, we are having a quadratic equation here, so we have to find out the values for the quadratic equation using the roots, that is using the formula s is equal to minus b plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. Using this formula, we have to find out the values of for roots. Here we get minus 2 plus or minus j 2.64 as our roots here, that is poles here. So plus or minus is mentioned here, so we are taking this as plus value as p1 and minus value as p2, and we are already having the s value before that, so s is equal to 0 will be one value. So we are considering p1 as 0, p2 as minus 2 plus j 2.64 and p3 as minus 2 minus j 2.64. Now we are going to find out the root locus on the real axis. Here we have to choose the test point on the left side of the S plane, then the right of the point, the total number of poles and zeros in one which is odd number, hence the position of the real axis from S0 to minus 9 will be a part of a root locus. If we choose the test point to the left of the S equal to minus 9, then the right of this point, the total number of poles and zeros which is an even number. Hence the real axis from S equal to minus 9 to minus infinity will not be a part of the root locus. Using this picture only we are finding the root locus location. So from 0 to minus 9 it will be a part of a root locus, so it will be marked in a dark line. Okay, next step 3 we have to find out the angle of asymptotes and centroid. For finding the angle of asymptotes we are having the formula plus or minus 180 degree 2q plus 1 divided by n minus of m, and for centroid we are having the formula as sum of poles minus sum of zeros divided by n minus of n. N minus of m, n is the number of poles and m is the number of zeros. Here number of poles will be 3 and number of zeros will be 1. So n value will be 3 and m value will be 1. So on minusing this we get 2. Up to 2 we have to find out the angle of asymptotes by substituting in a formula. We get as plus or minus 60 plus or minus 90 plus or minus 90. After that we are finding the value for centroid, sum of poles minus sum of zeros. So adding all the poles here and adding all the zeros and minus with the pole, we get the value as 2.5 here. We have to mark this in a graph as centroid like this. Now step 4, to find the breakaway and breaking point. Since it is a complex pole, since this problem having a complex pole, there is no need to find out the breakaway and breaking point. We directly go for step 5 to find the angle of departure. Let us considering the complex pole P2 and draw a vector from all other poles and zeros to the pole P2. Let the angle of these vector will be theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3. Finding these theta values, then we have to find out the angle of departure, that is 180 degree minus sum of angle of vector to a complex pole from other poles plus sum of angle of vector to the complex pole from zeros. Using this formula we are finding the value of P2, angle of departure from the complex pole P2 as minus 16.4. The angle of departure at the complex pole P3 is the negative of the angle of departure at the complex pole P2. That is, angle of departure of pole P3 will be minus of P2, that is plus 16.4. Now we have to mark these angles using the protractor. Next step will be finding the crossing point of the imaginary axis. For this we have to find out the closed loop transfer function. We know that it is a unity feedback system, so g of s divided by 1 plus g of s we have to find. Using this formula we get k into s plus 9 divided by s into s square plus 4s plus 11 plus k into s plus 9. Now we are going to take a characteristic equation as a denominator here. That value we get s into s square plus 4s plus 11 plus k into s plus 9. By multiplying these values inside, we get s cube plus 4s square plus 11s plus ks plus 9k equal to 0. Now we are going to put j omega instead of s here. Then we have to simplify that. We get answer as minus j omega cube minus of 4 omega square plus j 11 omega plus j k omega plus 9k. Now we are going to separate the real and imaginary part separately and equal to 0 here. We are going to make it as equal to 0. Then we get the value of omega and k here as omega as plus or minus 4.4 and k value as 8.8. This omega value is called as the crossing point here. Now we have to go for graph and we have to mark the graph here. First we have to mark the poles and zeros here in a graph. We have to mention the poles as cross and zeros as 0 here. After that we have to mark the centroid point here. Then we have to mark the angle of asymptotes using the protractor from the centroid point. After that we have to mark the angle of departure from the P2 and P3 here. Then at last we have to mark the crossing point, that is plus or minus 4.4j here. From this point we have to join with the angle of departure. The angle of departure will be from P2 and P3. So we have to mark these values here and we get the root locus sketch. Thank you for watching.